I'm Noob Eternally, back with another suggestion review, and today I'm reviewing a very detailed Yuta suggestion that has some amazing art to go alongside it. This Yuta suggestion, from my reading of it, is pretty gimmicky, in a way that might hurt him as a character, but there's also a lot of creativity with the suggestion, which makes him pretty interesting to read. This video will go over the suggestion, and see if it would fit into the game, as well as giving my own thoughts on the overall design of it. So, let's get into the video. Starting with the passive, Yuta has a bigger ultimate gauge than other characters in the game, and the justification for the author behind making this change is because his entire moveset relies on his ultimate, as well as his ultimate being really good in their opinion. So that's the reason why they want to make him have a bigger ultimate gauge. My interpretation of this is that he's going to have more capacity for ultimate meter, but he's also going to take longer to charge up to maximum. And if that's how it is, then I think it would work. As long as the ult is strong enough that there's enough payoff for actually filling up that ultimate bar, then it makes sense. And having more capacity means that he can make use of his gimmick, his R special, a lot more, which we'll get into next. His R special is Enhance, which makes Yuta empower his katana with Rika, and this changes his movesets until a move is used, as well as consuming some meter. The R-enhanced moves are on another photo, and we'll get into that later, but just know that they're generally just stronger or modified versions of the moves that he has in his base. Starting with the first move, which is Vortex, Yuta dashes forward and slashes the enemy, and then hops forward to slice him again, which is a combo extender that is also easy to punish if you whiff it. I'd say this move would work just fine in the game. It acts most likely as a standard combo extender that people use once they get a combo, and while it does look like it would have the potential to be a good combo starter, because of how it makes you dash forward and slash, as well as doing another hop forward that does another slash after that, the fact that it's really easy to punish means that it's a very risky tool. So, in essence, this move would basically be Curse Strikes V2. Very easy to punish if the opponent predicts it, but it can have some neutral application, and it's also just a free combo extender if you manage to get an M1 combo in. The second move is Fury Rush. Yuta stomps on the floor, and if the opponent gets hit, he slices forward 3 times while dashing forward, dealing knockback at the end. This move reminds me a lot of that one Atomic Samurai move where Atomic Samurai stomps on the ground and then does some slashes, and because it's a stomp, my assumption is that this is going to hit ragdolled people. And if it does, that means it's a good tool for his combos. Yuta can do a down slam and then use this move, and now his opponent got knocked back. Pretty simple move without that much to talk about, and I'd also expect this to maybe be a guard break as well. There's not really much to say about this move because it's so simple, but it just seems like a good move that would work in Yuta's combos. Moving on to the third move, which is Fragile Blade or Black Flash, this is interesting because it's a counter with 2 different versions depending on if you time it right or not. Using the move makes Yuta hold up the blade before countering the enemy, and if you get the counter, then you get 2 options. If you press again at the perfect time, you do a Black Flash, which does knockback. And if you don't time it right, you do a simple smack, that combo starts. Here's my problem with this, which is that it's the same kind of problem that Focus Strike had with Mahito, where there's really no good reason to use a Black Flash. You're sacrificing an entire combo just to do the Black Flash. Now, Z did later remedy this in the future by making Black Flash block break and hit grounded people while Focus Strike can't do either of those things, but with this, you definitely need to make Black Flash do a lot more than just a knockback to make it actually have a chance to stay on par with a whole combo starting counter. Because a combo starter is a very hard thing to beat, because if you manage to get a combo on an opponent, that leads to a lot of damage, especially with this character concept where it seems like the author wants to make it very combo heavy. So getting a combo start with this character concept seems like it's going to give you a lot more value than just doing a Black Flash and knocking them away. There has to be a lot of things to compensate for the Black Flash in order for it to stand on par with the extender, because otherwise it's just a punishment for timing it right rather than a reward. Now for the fourth and final move in the base, you have Self-Recovery, which makes Yuta take a second to heal himself before instantly healing a small margin of health. I have to say this right out the gate, this is very similar to Sorcerer Battleground's 4 move for Yuta, but putting that aside, I feel like it's a little bit boring. Just a simple heal doesn't really fit with the whole shenanigans aspect of Jujutsu Shenanigans, because it's just a heal. There's no chaos or creative aspect to that. you're just healing health. And while I can't hate on it too much because it's still going to be helpful in combat, it is a bit of a boring move and also a little bit too similar to how other games have the move. It's just a heal. Moving on to the modified Yuta moves that he gets when he uses his special, the first one is Curse Speaker, which makes him backflip, and then summon a speaker before saying die to stun anyone near him. This move would probably just be a pretty good counter, I'd say. Not in the if you get hits it works way, but more so that if your opponent is rushing you down, you can use this to disengage and punish them for rushing in, while stunning them and getting yourself a free combo. So it seems like a generally just good move. The second move is Icebreaker, which has him slide forward with his hands behind his back before hitting anyone in front of him and freezing them in place. I'm gonna say this right out the gate, I don't think that's how Thin Icebreaker is in the manga, so a bit of a canon issue there, because I'm pretty sure Thin Icebreaker is just a big punch. But ignoring that and just looking at the concept, this is another combo extender, which is starting to push it, because it's on the second move. Meaning that Yuta can use his first combo extender, get some more M1s in, and then use this as a second combo extender, and get even more M1s in, and do a lot more damage than any other characters in the game. So it's a little bit of a concern in my book, but I think it should be okay if there's some damage balances to make up for that. As for the R+3 move, it just seems like it's a stronger counter. When Yuta counters a hit, Rika gets summoned and screams, stunning nearby enemies. What this means is that I can hit multiple people at once, so that means it'll be good for boss rating, and the fact that he's able to attack while she screams probably means that you can do some sort of silly M1 resets, kind of like in ABA where you can do double M1s with Shinsui's Bushoguma. If anyone knows what I'm referencing there, you probably don't because ABA is such an old antiquated game at this point, but who knows, someone will recognize it probably. But yeah, you might be able to do a double M1 reset if you're able to attack while she screams, or if you can't do that, you can just have one of your higher startup moves be used, which is also good. Maybe get off the free heal, and then proceed to combo them while you're at it. Who knows? As for the R+4, which is the final move, you hold out your hands and you stun yourself to heal anyone in front of you. And if in execution range, Rika just kills your opponent. This move is kind of worded weirdly. It's treated as a heal, but it says that if your opponent is at a low enough HP threshold, it just instantly kills them. So if it's supposed to be a heal, and you're trying to heal your friend who's on low HP, you're gonna kill them, which just sounds kind of counterintuitive, if I have to say it. It's not good as a attack either, because you're only gonna be able to use it as a finisher. So I just don't get why it has an execution to it. Like, I'm fine with it having a heal aspect, but I don't know why it has that whole kill your enemy if they're at a low enough HP threshold aspect to it. That should probably just be removed, and you should either focus on making it an attack skill with the execution thing, or just make it the healing someone else move, which I think is a better option. Finally, we're going to move on to the ultimates. When Yuta presses G, he doesn't actually seem to awaken. It just makes Rika manifest behind Yuta before flying in the air and then shooting a massive beam. Sort of like an ultimate rather than an awakening. Now, I'd say this is probably going to have to be really busted in order to justify getting rid of your awakening in favor of some ultimate move. And if it is sufficiently busted, it'd probably be really fun to use. Kind of like how Hollow Purple Nuke is, but actually useful. The suggestion is kind of vague with it, and that's kind of how suggestions are. They never really set anything in stone and sort of leave the numbers up to developers. But I'm going to say this right here because it's important. You really need to make an ultimate very strong if you're going to put that as the alternative to an awakening. But Yuta did get an awakening here, and that's what happens if you use R plus G, which opens up your domain. And this is very gimmicky, I have to say. It makes Yuta do a huge domain expansion, probably bigger than the other ones in the game, and his R gets changed within the domain. The domain expansion lasts for the entirety of the ult, and any damage to the domain affects his ultimate, which is going to be a nightmare for the Yuta player in public servers, because you already know how players are in public servers. If they see a domain, they're all going to gang up on it and beat the crap out of the domain until it breaks, meaning that Yuta is going to get generally far less awakening time than other awakenings because it's contingent on his domain. Ignoring that issue though, he gets a random ultimate moveset as a gimmick for his domain. And if I'm gonna be completely honest, it feels like that's a little bit boring as a concept, just giving Yuta some other person's ultimate. Because at that point, you're not really using your own ultimate, you're just using someone else's ultimate as your own. Which, while it does fit with the copycat theme, is just kind of boring gameplay-wise. I feel like Yuta should have the ability to use ultimate moves from a whole list of different awakenings, while also getting some moves of his own so that he gets to mix and match between them, having his own kind of awakening while still getting the copycat feel because he can borrow from other awakenings as well. Now, for the R move in his domain, he gets something called reroll, so if all of his ultimate skills are off cooldown, Yuta can try to reroll them and get a better ultimate, which I think is interesting. I like the idea of getting to kind of roll your ultimate and change things up if you get a bad hand, and I think it's a creative concept for how this is right now. And finally, for one last move, you get Jacob's Ladder. It's an RNG chance to get this one move called Jacob's Ladder, where it fires down a beam that lasts 4 seconds, and if it hits someone, they get instant killed. And once you use it, you cannot use it again, seeing as it never goes off cooldown. I have to say, I have a bit of a problem with it, which is that this is probably never going to hit. After 6 seconds it fires down a beam is why I say that. Because, let's be honest here, no one is standing in a zone for 6 seconds. Now, if you team on somebody, you could absolutely make that happen by having a friend of yours stun someone in a combo and then nuking them with Jacob's Ladder. But I don't think it's remotely possible to get this to happen unless Yuta's allowed to attack during the startup. In which case, then yeah, you can probably guarantee this by comboing someone using Jacob's Ladder and then keeping them stunned until the Jacob's Ladder happens. But if Yuta can't take any action while Jacob's Ladder is being charged up, then this is not going to hit unless you have a teammate to help you out. And if this is supposed to be some big RNG sent by God kind of turnaround move that's supposed to be the strongest ultimate he can get if he's extremely lucky, that's kind of a problem, because that needs to be a strong move. And even if it's an instant kill, that doesn't matter if you can't hit it in the first place. Overall, this suggestion is great. The illustrations really help me understand what the creator is going for, and I have to say they're well drawn. However, the suggestion itself is definitely gimmicky. Having your awakening be based around your domain expansion, and also making the awakening not a set of your own moves, but just someone else's awakening, feels like the kind of gimmick that would make using Yuta's awakening more frustrating than fun. It's not fun to have your awakening ended in 5 seconds, because players outside of the domain decided to destroy it. And using someone else's awakening is a boring gimmick in my opinion, because it means Yuta doesn't really have anything special of his own besides rerolling and Jacob's Ladder. However, ignoring my problems with the awakening, I really like everything else, especially the moves and his enhanced move gimmick that feels pretty cool. Anyways, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed watching, make sure to subscribe for even more content about Jujutsu Shenanigans. I'm New Eternally, and I'll see you next time in another video. Bye.